Hi, I am Sarah Grace Moore. I'm Chief Operating Officer here at Mackey. Thank you so much for joining us today on your lunch hour for Business by Design in 5 questions. I hope it is worth your time. Today on the call with me is Robert Lamoth. He is the VP of Client Services here at Mackey, and he will be able to answer any questions you may have as well on this topic. So this webinar is scheduled for 45 minutes, but I'm hoping to get you out of here in about 30. This is a pretty simple topic. And plus, if I get you out of here early, that means you have more time to actually do the work, which is really great. So the way this is going to work is we're going to go through kind of where we put this in our process that we work with clients. Then we're going to just have some framework that we're going to go over before we dive into the questions. Then we'll talk about the 5 questions and wrap up. So first, Mackey, our process, Prosper for Business, is built on what we call the prosperity ladder. And we believe it all starts with data, because data lets you know where you are. And if you don't have good data, that means you don't know where you are. And if you don't know where you are, you can't know where you want to go. And that's kind of how we see it. So data is the bedrock of everything we do here at Mackey. Then with our business owners, we work up to cash flow, because the stress of worrying about if we have enough cash to meet our vendor needs and our salary requirements is pretty intense. So we want to make sure we get that under control and make sure we have healthy cash flow. Next, we move up to profit, because we need to make sure that we're creating enough profit to reinvest in our business, invest in ourselves, and invest in our team. Then we can start working on owner lifestyle. And lastly, legacy, what we want to leave when we're done with our work. And really where this piece is we start kind of with owner lifestyle with Business by Design, because this is talking a lot about what kind of leader you want to be, what kind of business you really want to be running. But ultimately it's going to move into legacy, because if you're really conscientious about the design of your business, that means that most likely you're wanting to leave something once you are moving on, right? So whether that be wanting to sell it, transition it to the next generation, or really just even a bigger purpose that you're trying to achieve. And in terms of our annual planning process, this is kind of where we start the whole process. And that's because your business as a business owner is probably the thing that you spend most of your time doing. You probably spend more time with your business than with your spouse or your children or your parents or your friends, or on self-care. So we really want to be intentional when we think about our business moving forward in the planning process, because we need to be building something that is energizing for the business owner, because it will take a lot of your blood, sweat, tears, money, time, talent, all of those things. And if you've been with us in our Grow 4 Ways workshop, that's the next step. And we do have another one of those coming up later this month or early December, if you want to check that out. So building blocks, right? What do these have anything to do with Business by Design? Well, maybe this is just for me, the way I visualize it, as I have 2 toddlers at home. But on the right, we've got a bunch of building blocks. And on the left, we have a tower. It's not an overly structured tower, but it's standing and there's some form and function to it. And that's really what we're looking at here. We're looking at a bunch of bricks, which would be a business by default, versus a business by design, which is this tower we're looking at. And what happens in our business, and it happens in every business, is we start out, we have this great idea. It's crystal clear in our mind. We start offering our service or our product, and then somebody knocks on our door and says, hey, I know you just started this business and you're trying to do this, and this is similar. Can you do that too? And you know what? We need to feed ourselves and our family. We need to get that next sale. And we say, sure, we'll do it. We'll figure it out. And that's great. But then, maybe 6 months later or a year later, a really great client says, I know you don't do this for me, but it would be so nice if you could offer this product or service for me as well. And you say, sure, we'll figure it out. We'll do that. And at some point we create what is maybe not as messy as this jumble of blocks, but we create this kind of business by default where we have this great idea and it's still there, but there's a lot of clutter around it too. And what we want to move to is this business by design where we're not overly structuring things. We're not being so aggressive in our structure that we can't be nimble or make good decisions, or live, a little more carefree. But we want to create some structure and some clarity around where we're going. And so this is the question that we're going to ask ourselves as we move through these 5 questions. If you have the opportunity to start all over again, what would your business look like? So you have this pile of building blocks, but instead of having that, you just have a crisp white piece of paper. If you were sitting down in front of one just crisp white piece of paper, how would you design your business all over again? And what we're going to do in the next 15 minutes or so is go through the questions you need to ask yourself in order to think through what your business by design looks like. And if you're familiar with us at all, you can probably guess what the first question is. It is, what does your business life look like? We are at the core all about supporting business owners, because if you can support a business owner, then you can support the business, because business owners and small businesses, we know, kind of the lifeblood of the business. So we need to think about what, as owners, our perfect day looks like. What does our perfect week look like? How many hours are we working? I have a client that I just adore, and I meet with him every year and I ask how he's doing. And every year he's like, oh, I'm working 80, 90 hours a week. And next year I'd really like to be at 50, right? And it's a goal and we're never hitting it quite yet, but it's there. But are you working 80 hours? Do you want to work 80 hours? Maybe you do. Or maybe you want to work 20. Or maybe you just want to work 9 to 5, right? What type of work are you doing? Are you the visionary? Are you the salesperson? Are you the person who's talking strategy? Or are you R&D? Like, what really fuels you? Where are you best suited to serve your business? And how much are you earning, right? Because at the end of the day, while it may be that we love what we do and we love our business, it has to support our needs as a person and as a family. So what you're earning is really key. And when you're thinking about your life, one of the things that I like to suggest when you're answering this question for yourself is do it in 2 different ways. So, if you're a kind of an analytical person, a fast-paced person, bullet point it out first, right? Bullet point out every brain dump you can think of what your perfect day, week, month, year look like, what you're doing, how you're doing it, things like that as the owner. And then write maybe a narrative about that, right? So then you can really engage the creative side of your brain. Write about when you're waking up in the morning and what office are you going to and what are you doing and who you're meeting with. And then you've got this down and dirty list that can help you kind of create some structure, but then you've got this narrative that's really created a very strong idea in your brain, in your mind. So once we've got our business life, we've got that pictured. Next, we're going to move on to the numbers, because the numbers are really important. So what's your annual revenue? What do you want your annual revenue to look like in your designed business? What's the gross profit? What's your bottom line? If you have been to our Grow 4 Ways workshop, you know that bottom line is the thing that we really focus on. And if you saw our prosperity ladder, nowhere in it is annual revenue, because really it's not that important in the grand scheme of things. What's your average fee per client or customer, right? How much are they spending with you every time they come visit you? How often are they coming in? Are you a solo owner? Like, are you going it alone, or do you want partners? If you want partners or owners, how many of you are there, and what are your core duties? And then how many team members do you have? And this can run the gamut, right? Like, there are people who have grown their businesses huge and they have these big teams, and then they think, man, I really don't like this. I want to go back to just being a solopreneur, really owning my own destiny and like taking on the clients I want to take on at the price point I want to take on. And so there's no judgment around any of these decisions, but we're really getting clear on what we want our business and our life to look like. And so the caveat to this, though, is while we've listed the revenue, gross profit, and bottom line as you would see them on your P&L, really you should start from the bottom and work up. So like, what is that bottom line number? And that bottom line number needs to support reinvestment in your business. So do you need new technology? Do you need new equipment? Do you need new space? Do you need new talent? So it has to support some reinvestment in your business. It also has to support your life, right? So it has to support your investment in yourself as well, yourself and your family, and support investment in your team, right? Maybe you do a profit sharing plan, something like that. But really, what does that bottom line look like that feels healthy and makes you feel secure? And then you can kind of work your way up into the other numbers. So bottom line focus first with your numbers. The third question you're going to ask yourself are, what products and services am I going to offer and sell? So what do you want to make? I mean, this is where we find a lot of people this is where default happens a lot, is it's like, oh, well, this is just a small pivot, so I'll do this. Or, oh, this seems really easy, I'll do that. And that's great if that's what you like to do. And maybe you're a person who loves ideas and loves taking on new things. And so creating new lines of service works for you. But oftentimes, at some point, you look around and you think, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. And so you got to think, what do you want to make or sell? What's the mix? I just recently talked to a client and they said, next year, we're really focusing on 70, 20, 10. 70% core. We know we're profitable on it. We're going to focus on that. 20% in terms of what can we offer around that would be a value add to our clients, and 10% that's going to be strictly disruptive, right? What's really, truly innovative. Maybe that's your mix. Maybe you want to be heavily product and small service, or maybe the opposite. So not just what are you doing, like how much or what are you selling, but how much of that are you selling? And then maybe the most important question on this list, your products or services, what don't you want to do or make? Every year, our leadership team here at Mackey, we pose this in, what kind of value do we want to offer to our clients? Like, what do we really, at the end of the day, what do we want our clients saying we've delivered to them? And then we look at our product mix and our service mix from that perspective. So if something no longer serves that purpose, we kind of figure out a plan to cut it, right? Over our history, we've gone from being a traditional public accountant to a financial advisory firm for small businesses. Our product mix has drastically changed. And the best way we've done that is to be intentional. Sometimes we've done it unintentionally, and that's been a mess. And sometimes intentionally can be a mess too, but at least intentionally, you know why you're doing it, right? So at least annually, do an audit of your products and services and see if what you're offering is still what you want to be offering and what brings the most value to your clients and customers. The fourth question, which is a big question, is your culture, right? So especially with the way 2020 is shaped up, where I'm working at home, Robert's working at home, you're probably listening to this at your home. The traditional office space, I don't know if it's ever going to come back, right? We're going to have office spaces. I'm not saying all office is going to go away, but we're no longer going to have expectations of employees to really show that you're in the office 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And that world is kind of gone. So what kind of environment are you in? Do you have a small office, or maybe you're sharing an office with others, or renting a co-working space? Maybe everybody's remote, right? Maybe everybody was remote and you get together once a quarter for an in-person meeting, once that's safe to do. I'm not suggesting you do that now. But what kind of environment are you in? And that's critical, especially right now. And how do you, if you have a good culture now, how do you maintain your culture? Or how have you been maintaining your culture in this environment of social distancing and quarantining? So what relationships do you have? Do you have really familial relationships? Do you have a much more stoic kind of professional relationships? Are people cross-functional, or are they siloed? who works there? Who works there with you? Who is your team? And again, when I talked about this bullet point versus narrative, this could be a really great place to start to do that as well, to flesh out, especially key team members. If there's somebody in your organization that's a linchpin that may not be working, or if they are working exceptionally well, taking the time to bullet point and narrative out why they are the way they are is huge, so that you can get clearer as you go to recruit who you want on your team. What are your values, right? For Mackie, we hire more on value alignment than on technical skill, because we know there are an infinite number of ways we can increase the technical skill of our team, but you have to have the same values as the core team to really understand the work and provide the value we're providing. And then how is your organization structured, right? Are you very hierarchical with lots of layers of management? Are you more flat? Again, are people cross-functional? Are they working in pods? Is it a one-to-one relationship in terms of like one advisor per client, or one mechanic per client, one something per client, right? There are a lot, or is it a team effort? And how do you structure those things? So lots and lots of questions under culture, and they're all kind of hard to answer because culture is really hard to define in a lot of ways, especially in a small business. And lastly, which I'm sure you did not think this is going to be the last question you have to ask in terms of business by design. The last question to ask is, who are your clients and customers, right? So who do you deliver this work to that you're offering? And again, that narrative and bullet point will be really, really critical here. Especially if you're looking at creating a new website or writing copy, having some narrative where you can take some language out would be very helpful. How do you deliver that work? Again, we're in time of self-quarantining, so you're having to change how you delivered your product and service. So are you utilizing client portals? Do you have an online scheduling system? Are you using Facebook groups or e-learning platforms? If you are shipping products, like what does the packaging look like? Is it an experience when people open up your product, when they receive it at their door? Where do you find your clients or customers? Where are they hanging out right now? Are they on LinkedIn, or are they on TikTok, right? Very, very different demographics. And there's a little mix of everybody, but especially in this digital world, we need to be thinking about digital places. Are they podcast listeners or ebook readers? So really getting clear on where are your clients and customers, and where will they be once they can be in physical community together. And again, what's your relationship? Are you the low-cost provider, right? Where you're the bargain? Are you the operational efficiency person where they know that you're going to get it done fast and effective? Or are you a trusted advisor where you're making sure that you're providing lots and lots of value and it's a more intimate relationship? And again, none of these things are good or bad. They're all about your competency and what you believe your customers need. So these are the 5 questions. They're very large questions. You can tell that each of them have a million sub-questions, and you could have a million sub-questions under each one. But really, I would suggest that you let your mind go where it wants to go as you answer these questions. But there are some principles of design we do want to walk through before we send you off to do this homework. So first, you have to answer the questions in order. The reason they go from your life to your customer is because that's almost always the opposite of how we think. But again, it's your time, talent, energy, sleepless nights, tears, relationships, all of that stuff is on the line. And so we want to make sure that we're putting our oxygen mask on first. We're taking care of ourselves first. And we're creating a business that fuels us, not drains us. Because if we're a leader, if we're a business leader, we've got to take care of ourselves to make sure that we're keeping our internal engine running. So you're working from the inside out. And that's really critical. So answer them in order. 2, put your needs first. So when you're thinking about these questions, a lot of times it's like, oh, well, my administrator mentioned this and that would be so cool. Well, okay, maybe it's cool, but is it what you want, right? Is it what you need? Oh, my partner would love this. Well, it's not about them. I mean, we love the people in our lives and we want to support them as well. But for this purpose, we're going to be really, really, really selfish and put all of our needs first, because you could share this or not, but at least then you're really clear on what you want and need. Next, go it alone. Like this is an alone activity. So we're not getting in a room with our other partners or our leadership team or our spouse and doing this work. I will say though, if you have other owners or partners, asking them to do this alone would be huge. Also, asking your spouse or your children or anybody else that you spend a lot of personal time with, that you value your relationship, asking them to answer number 1 on what your business life may look like might be important, or what their business life looks like, because then you can start having conversations in your relationship as well. But go it alone. This is independent study time. And then allow adequate time. Obviously, I've laid this out in less than 30 minutes, but to really explore these questions, I'm not saying you need a day for each question, but at least, put half a day on your calendar to block it off to really think about these questions. Get yourself into a creative space, go out into the woods, or, grab your favorite cup of coffee. Do whatever it is that are going to get your juices flowing. Go on a walk and use your voice memo. The best place for me to think is in my car. So I have a ridiculous number of voice memos saved on my iPhone. Some of them make a lot of sense and some are complete gibberish, basically, by the time I get home. But make sure you're allowing adequate time and you're giving yourself the space to do this work. Because again, this is about putting our mask on first and taking care of ourselves. So to recap your 5 questions. 1, what does my business life look like? And again, we're not trying to structure this so much that we can't move forward. So if your personal life flows into this, because as a business leader and owner, like my personal life and my business life oftentimes become one and the same. And so that's okay. You can let your mind wander about your life in general. But what does your business life look like is the first question to answer. Next, move on to your numbers. What are you achieving? Third, what are you offering and selling and producing? What products and service are you offering? 4, what kind of culture are you actively developing? Because there is a culture in your business, whether you like it or not, and it can be something you design or something by default. And typically, if it's something by default, it's probably not very good. I mean, maybe it is. I'm not going to say 100% across the board a default culture is not good, but typically good cultures are very intentionally designed. And then lastly, who are your clients and customers? Who are you serving? And making sure that you're providing the right value to them. So with that, I am Sarah Grace Moore, Chief Operating Officer here at Mackie. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. You can find me on all of these platforms, and you are free to go at this point. I have got no more content, but if you would like to ask a question, feel free to throw it in the chat and we will we'll answer it. And also I will let you know that I will be sending you these slides after the fact so that you have the questions and the prompts as well. So with that, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. I know that your time is very valuable, and have a great time designing your business. Thanks so much.